Futures Thinking to deliver the sponsorship speech. So move.
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you. May I ask for less than a minute suspension just to set up the slide presentation?
Session suspended.
We're ready to proceed, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
I rise today to sponsor Senate Bill number 1290 under Committee Report number 2, otherwise known as the Walkable and Bikeable Communities Act. The long title of this bill is an act institutionalizing active transport by establishing a safe pathways network of bicycle lanes, walkways, and slow streets, and for other purposes. This takes into consideration Senate Bill number 19, filed by this representation, and the bills filed by Senator Poe, Senator Ejercito. May visuals yan, kaya nadidelay yata ang aking... ayan. So, bills filed by Senator Ejercito and... Senator Poe, Senator Ejercito, and Senator Ejercito Estrada. This is also... there were also expressions of intent by the co-authors, Senator Poe, Senator Ejercito, Senator Ejercito Estrada, Senator Revilla Jr., Senator Angara, and Senator De La Rosa. I was only able to find biking pictures of the two gentlemen. Kung meron kayong biking pictures, padala nyo, habol natin, ilalagay ko kayo dyan. But it's very interesting because the picture of Senator JV is actually from an article that talks about how he bikes to work. Also to put on record, the Majority Floor Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, has filed his own version on the Safe Pathways Act. Dear colleagues, this bill is similar to the one I filed and sponsored last Congress, which the Senate passed on third reading. That bill was a product of necessity at the height of the pandemic, brought about by the plight of health and essential workers who were stranded and had to walk long distances to get to their work or home. So these are articles that highlighted how difficult it was to get to work and how the bikes were coming out on the streets. On the streets. Those who had bikes fared better than others. The original bill, as I mentioned, that was filed in the last Congress, passed in the last Senate, known as the Safe Pathway Network Bill, sought to create a network of pop-up bicycle lanes and slow streets that could be used by our essential workers during the pandemic and to connect users to essential destinations. All over the world, urban cycling networks surged after lockdowns were imposed. In New York, Berlin, and Mexico City, to name a few, temporary bike lanes were set up to facilitate people's mobility. The same happened here. Brought about by the surge of bikers, more and more bike lanes were carved out of the streets. But even before the pandemic, I have long advocated for a shift to active and sustainable transportation. There are many benefits of cycling and walking to one's health. Physically, walking and biking are excellent forms of exercise, good for cardiovascular health. Mentally, taking time out from work or studies is a much-needed breather from the rigors of daily life, and going for a walk or bike ride is one way towards better mental health. I think we have pictures also. This one is So these are the benefits of biking. I'm already reading them anyway. The other benefit is community health, collectively, because the air is cleaner and there are less cars or motor vehicles on the road. During the height of the lockdown, there were reports of cleaner air and clearer visions, clearer views all over the metropolis. And this was also seen in other countries. Finally, the cost of a bike is much cheaper. Although the world has somehow learned to live with COVID and many things have returned to normal, the use of bikes and other active modes of transportation are here to stay. This bill touches on the following Sustainable Development Goals: SDG 3, good health and well-being; SDG 7, affordable and clean energy; SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure; SDG 13, climate action; SDG 17, partnership and goals. Interesting facts: in the Philippines, based on an SWS survey, 1 out of 4 households nationwide owns a bicycle. The number of households with bicycles in urban areas in NCR more than doubled since 2021, indicating there's strong demand for active transport. 7.3 million households own a bicycle as of April 2022, compared to 6.2 million households in May 2021. This is based on a Rappler report. 80% of Filipinos believe that better roads would encourage more people to use bikes. A number of cities in Metro Manila and in other parts of the countries have their own network of bicycle lanes. Outside of Metro Manila, Iloilo City has established its own bicycle lanes. I'm not sure if I have the distance, but the distance of the bicycle lanes in Iloilo is quite extensive. I will be sure that I have that to share with you during the period of interpellation. In our own Taguig City, we have kilometers after kilometers of bike lanes and sidewalk along the Laguna Lake. So let me tell you now about the bill. What is the Safe Pathways Network? It is a network of bicycle lanes, walkways, and slow street for active transport users. Electric personal mobility devices may also be allowed, but this would be subject to guidelines. So I think it's easy to understand what bike lanes are for the use of bikes. Walkways are for the use of pedestrians, including the use of strollers and other children's mobility equipment, again, subject to guidelines. And the slow streets. This is a very interesting concept that I really love. Slow streets, Your Honors, Madam President, are quite common all over the world, even in our own country. I normally notice this sa panahon ng may patay, pag may lamay. Di ba sinasara yung kalye to allow people to come and go, tapos nandun yung anong tawag doon, yung parang trapal na minsan may pangalan pa ng mayor or congressman na nagpahiram ng trapal. Tolda, yung tolda. Tapos nandun yung mapupunta na ako sa ibang description, alam niyo na ako ano ginagawa doon. So, okay, I was just handed the information that yung sa Iloilo, 11 kilometers yung kalye doon. So, anyway, yun yung concept ng slow street. Yung isasara yung kalye, it could be temporary or permanent, to close to motor vehicles, to allow people, particularly the elderly and the vulnerable, pregnant women, mothers, children, to run around and to walk. As to whether this will be temporary, permanent, what are the guidelines, that would depend on that particular area, because of course affected ang residents and any other tenants in that area. So that is the entire network: the slow streets, the walkable paths, and the bike lanes. Our intention is to institutionalize facilities. This will require that the LGUs coordinate with public and private institutions within their jurisdictions to ensure that these infrastructure can be built, and also the facilities that make it easy convenient for the active transport users to actually use them. These are what we call the end-of-trip facilities. These end-of-trips could include bike racks, the shower or changing rooms, and similar facilities. But what is also important are the bike lanes. If it is possible to make them permanent, then that would be the best scenario. But for many busy and urbanized cities that have been there, then temporary or pop-up bike lanes may be the most practical for the time being. Next slide, there you go. So this is a video. It's a video, right? This is a video from my trip to the global conference in Korea. Pakiulit na lang. So you'll see on the right, cars, bike lane, and walk path. So all three are there. It was amazing. And ordinarily, I would be very envious to see this in another city, but I'm proud to say that in Taguig City, we have the same. I don't know if the picture was already shown, but in Taguig City, we also have by Laguna Lake, the road for the cars, a separate bike lane, and the walkway. I think Senator Villar, when he was secretary, had the occasion of visiting and inaugurating that. And I think there's a picture of Senator Villar on a bike as well. So we will put that on there before we end. And I am coming to the end of this sponsorship speech, Your Honor. I would like to end by quoting the WHO Constitution. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So when we subject our people to hours and hours of the road in traffic, unable to be reunited at the end of a long work day with their families, having to leave when it's still dark to get to work, I personally believe that that is not a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. So until we are able to fix our transportation system, and one step in the right direction is active transport, then we will continue to deprive our people of the kind of health that they deserve to have. So these are just, I end with these photos of advocacy rides I've had for more than 10 years all over the country. This is really to emphasize that there are this many bikers. We can take up the whole road. This takes a lot of planning for us to do this, because it is not our intention to take up the whole road, but the intention is to show that if we plan better, more people will be able to use bikes. Because one of the figures we also have is that it was revealed during our hearing that most of the destinations of people for work are within a kilometer or so, less than 5 kilometers for most, such that they could walk or bike that distance. 5 might be a little bit difficult to walk. It can be walked, but it may not be that comfortable with the kind of weather we have. But with active transportation, there will be less people using motorized vehicles. Thank you, dear colleagues, Madam President. With your support, I pray that this can become a law soon.
Thank you very much, Senator Pia Cayetano. The chair would like to associate herself with both the advocacies and the urge for implementation by the executive department of this measure, even if it's not yet a law. And I would just like to ask whether a frustrated biker, even a non-biker, can share that advocacy. I don't have a photo of a successful bike because I've always tried in my life. I am not gifted to be an athlete, and I have fallen quite a few times, which traumatized me. But I am one with a good sponsor and our colleagues in the urgent passage of this measure, because it is for the economy, it is for the environment, it is for health, and it is for aesthetics as well. And so I hope that in the budgetary process Your Honor, as well as the sponsors and authors, can bring this up so that the planning of the metropolis and other similarly situated LGUs can benefit from this even before the law is enacted. But I am one with you in this, and I commend you.
Thank you. During the proper time, since there are still others who will co-sponsor, I will make some remarks in response to Her Honor's statements, but at the proper time. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. May I also be recognized to deliver my co-sponsorship speech?
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam President, distinguished colleagues. First of all, I wish I'm as fit as the chairperson of the committee, and I also wish I have some photos like that, Madam President, but we're getting there. We also would like to put on record our commendation to our dear colleague, the Senator from Taguig and Patero, Senator Pia Cayetano, for sponsoring this measure. At the onset, as mentioned earlier, this representation filed Senate Bill number 1138, or the Safe Pathways Act, several weeks ago, which was also referred in the same committee. And we thank the distinguished lady, our sponsor, Senator Pia, for agreeing to take into consideration our bill in this committee report. It is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor Senate Bill number 1290 under Committee Report number 2, entitled An Act Institutionalizing Active Transport by Establishing a Safe Pathways Network of Bicycle Lanes, Walkways, and Slow Streets, and for other purposes, or the Walkable and Bikeable Communities Act. Madam President,